The message arrived on a Tuesday morning at exactly 9:47 Earth Standard Time. Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking his second cup of coffee when his aide rushed into his office with a face as white as paper. "Sir, we have a priority transmission from the Galactic Council," Lieutenant Commander Maya Singh said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's marked as an official decree." Jake set down his coffee mug and looked at the data pad she handed him. The seal of the Galactic Council glowed with that familiar blue light that meant serious business. He had seen it only twice before in his 15-year career as head of Earth's Stellar Defense Force. "Thank you, Maya. Contact President Turner and Dr. Kane immediately. Tell them we need an emergency meeting in 1 hour." Maya nodded and left quickly. Jake opened the message and began to read. With each line, his jaw tightened more. By the time he finished, his hands were clenched into fists. The decree was simple and direct. The Galactic Council demanded that Earth pay an annual tribute starting in 30 standard galactic days. The tribute included 40% of all industrial output, 25% of the human population to work as servants on other worlds, and complete surrender of all military vessels to Council control. The message explained that this was normal for all younger species in the galaxy. It was called a civilization tax and protection fee that helped maintain peace and order. The Council reminded Earth that humans were still considered a junior species with limited rights in galactic society. Jake read the final paragraph 3 times. If Earth refused to comply, the Council would send peacekeeping forces to ensure proper collection of the tribute. The message was signed by High Chancellor Vextar of the Altarian Empire and 3 other elder species leaders. An hour later, Jake sat in the secure conference room deep beneath the presidential palace in Geneva. President Alex Turner looked tired. At 62, he had led Earth through some difficult years, but nothing like this. Dr. Lisa Kane sat across from him, her laptop open and fingers flying across the keyboard as she pulled up files. "How bad is it, Jake?" President Turner asked. "As bad as it gets, sir. They want nearly half our industrial capacity, millions of our people, and complete military surrender. If we agree to this, Earth becomes a slave world." Dr. Kane looked up from her laptop. "I've been researching this tribute system for the past 3 years. What I found is disturbing." She turned her screen toward them. Charts and graphs filled the display, showing economic data from dozens of worlds. The tribute system has destroyed 47 civilizations in the past century. Species that once had thriving economies are now barely surviving. Their populations have been scattered across the galaxy as workers. Their home worlds are strip-mined for resources. President Turner leaned back in his chair. "Why haven't we heard about this before?" "Because the Council controls all official information channels. They present it as a success story. Younger species learning from their elders. Peaceful integration into galactic society." Lisa's voice was bitter. "The truth is, it's systematic. Exploitation." Jake pulled up his own files on his tablet. "I've been quietly reviewing our defense capabilities. We have more ships than the Council thinks we do. Over the past 10 years, we've been building in secret shipyards in the asteroid belt and outer colonies." "How many ships?" the President asked. 237 combat vessels of various classes, plus defensive platforms around Earth and our major colonies. The Council thinks we have maybe 50 ships total. Dr. Kane nodded. "That matches what I discovered about their intelligence gathering. They rely on economic reports and official communications. They don't do deep surveillance on member worlds." President Turner stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city of Geneva bustled with normal life. People went to work, children played in parks, and everyone assumed tomorrow would be much like today. "What are our options?" he asked without turning around. "We can comply and watch our civilization slowly die," Jake said. "We can refuse and fight a war we'll probably lose, or what?" Dr. Kane closed her laptop. "We do something the Council won't expect. We respond with logic and evidence instead of fear or anger." "Explain." "My research shows that several other species are also struggling with the tribute system. The Kepler colonies have been in secret communication with some of them. There's growing dissatisfaction, but no one wants to be the first to speak up. President Turner turned back to face them. You're suggesting we become the voice of opposition? I'm suggesting we become the voice of reason, Lisa replied. We present the economic data. We show how the tribute system is unsustainable. We offer alternatives. Jake shook his head. They won't listen to economic arguments when they have all the military power. Do they? Lisa asked. My research suggests their military strength is mostly reputation and fear. Most of their fleet is old. They haven't fought a real war in over 2 centuries. President Turner sat back down. Even if that's true, we're talking about challenging the entire galactic order. The galactic order is broken, Lisa said firmly. The question is whether we want to be part of fixing it or just another victim of it. They sat in silence for several minutes. Outside, the sun was setting over Lake Geneva. Soon, people would be heading home to their families, unaware that their entire way of life hung in the balance. What would our response look like? President Turner finally asked. Dr. Kane opened her laptop again. A detailed economic analysis showing the long-term costs of the tribute system. A proposal for sustainable interaction between elder and younger species. And a clear statement that Earth chooses cooperation over exploitation. And if they reject it, Jake answered this time, then we show them that humans don't surrender easily. President Turner looked at both of them. These were good people, smart people who had served Earth faithfully for years. But the decision they were asking him to make could lead to the destruction of everything humanity had built among the stars. How long do we have? 30 days to respond, Jake said. But if we're going to do this, we need to start preparing now, both for diplomacy and for the possibility that diplomacy will fail. Dr. Kane, I want that economic analysis completed within 2 weeks. Jake, begin quiet preparations for alternative scenarios, but nothing that could be seen as aggressive preparation for war. Both of them nodded, and not a word of this to anyone outside this room until we decide how to proceed. As they left the conference room, President Turner remained behind. He stood again at the window, watching the lights of Geneva come on in the growing darkness. Tomorrow, he would begin the process that would either save human civilization or lead to its destruction. The choice was no longer whether to pay tribute to the Galactic Council. The choice was whether humanity would face the future on their knees or standing upright. For Alex Turner, that was no choice at all. Ambassador Kate Phillips stood before the massive doors of the Grand Council chamber on Centauri Prime. The doors were carved from a single piece of crystal that rose 30 feet high. Each door showed scenes of the galaxy's elder species bringing order to younger civilizations. Kate had walked through these doors many times over the past 5 years, but today felt different. Remember, Kate, came President Turner's voice through her secure earpiece. Stay calm, present the facts, and don't let them intimidate you. Kate touched the datapad in her jacket pocket. 2 weeks of work by the best minds on Earth were stored in that device. Dr. Kane's economic analysis, supported by data from Admiral Morrison's intelligence network and contributions from allies they had quietly contacted across the galaxy. The doors opened with a deep humming sound. The Grand Council chamber was designed to make visitors feel small. The ceiling stretched up into darkness, and the walls curved away until they seemed to disappear. 500 seats arranged in rising. Circles surrounded a small platform in the center where Kate would speak. Today, representatives from 83 species filled those seats. The elder species sat in the highest tier, looking down at everyone else. High Chancellor Vextar of the Altarian Empire sat directly ahead, his gray skin marked with the ritual scars that showed his rank. To his left sat Speaker Mordan of the Hegemony, her insect-like features unreadable. The other elder species leaders watched with the patient attention of predators. Kate walked to the speaking platform. Her footsteps echoed in the vast space. When she reached the center, a spotlight activated, putting her in a bright circle while the rest of the chamber remained in dim light. The human delegation acknowledges the Council's communication, Kate began. Her voice was amplified throughout the chamber. We have prepared a comprehensive response. High Chancellor Vextar leaned forward slightly. Very good. We trust Earth has prepared the tribute schedules and transfer protocols. The first payment is due in 15 standard days. Kate looked up at him without blinking. We have prepared something different, Chancellor. An economic analysis of the tribute system and its effects on galactic civilization. A murmur ran through the chamber. Several representatives from younger species leaned forward with interest. The elder species, however, remained still. We have studied tribute records from the past century, Kate continued. The data shows a concerning pattern. Species that enter the tribute system experience immediate economic decline. Within 50 years, most lose their industrial capacity entirely. Their populations become scattered as workers, and their homeworlds are stripped of resources. She activated her datapad. A holographic display appeared above her head, showing charts and graphs. The Kalari civilization once had a population of 12 billion. After 60 years of tribute, fewer than 2 billion remain scattered across 40 worlds. The Valoni had 37 colony worlds. They now control 3. The murmur in the chamber grew louder. Kate could see representatives from younger species whispering to each other. High Chancellor Vextar's voice cut through the noise. The younger species learn discipline and proper resource management. Some inefficiency is expected during the learning process. With respect, Chancellor, this is not inefficiency. This is systematic destruction. Kate's voice remained steady. We have calculated the total economic impact. The tribute system has removed the equivalent of 47 entire civilizations from productive participation in the galactic economy. Speaker. Morden's translator device crackled to life. The human delegate oversteps her authority. Earth was invited to provide tribute schedules, not economic theory. Kate nodded respectfully. Which brings us to Earth's response to the tribute demand. The chamber fell silent. Every representative, from the highest elder species to the newest members, focused on the small human standing in the bright circle of light. After careful consideration, Earth respectfully declines to pay tribute to the Galactic Council. The silence stretched for nearly 10 seconds before exploding into chaos. Representatives stood and shouted in dozens of languages. Some elder species pounded their desks in anger while younger species looked at each other in shock and something that might have been hope. High Chancellor Vextar raised his hand, and the chamber gradually quieted. The human delegate appears to have misunderstood. The tribute system is not optional for younger species. We understand perfectly, Chancellor. We also understand that 47 civilizations believed they had no choice. They were wrong, and so are you. Kate activated another display. This one showed communication logs and economic data from multiple worlds. Over the past 6 months, Earth has been in contact with representatives from 17 younger species. All of them expressed the same concerns about the tribute system. All of them want change but fear speaking alone. The chamber erupted again, but this time the shouting came mostly from elder species representatives. Several younger species sat in stunned silence, staring at the evidence floating above Kate's head. This is treason against the Galactic Order, Speaker Mordan announced. This is economics, Kate replied. The tribute system is unsustainable. It weakens the galaxy by destroying productive civilizations. Earth proposes an alternative. A new display appeared. Voluntary cooperation between species based on mutual benefit. Trade relationships that strengthen both partners. Shared research and development projects. Cultural exchange programs that preserve each species' identity while building understanding. Representative A. After representative from younger species began to stand, not to shout but to listen. Kate could see hope spreading through the lower tiers of the chamber like ripples in a pond. High Chancellor Vexitar stood, his 7-foot frame casting a shadow even in the spotlight. Earth has 10 days to reconsider this foolish position. The tribute system has maintained galactic peace for 8 centuries. We will not allow one arrogant species to destroy that peace. Kate looked up at him without flinching. Earth has already reconsidered, Chancellor. We spent 2 weeks analyzing every aspect of the tribute system. Our conclusion remains the same. She deactivated her displays and spoke her final words clearly, making sure every translator in the chamber captured them accurately. Humanity respectfully declines your tribute demand and formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We call upon all species that desire true cooperation to join us in building a better future for the galaxy." The chamber fell completely silent. Again. Then slowly a representative from the Kepler colonies stood up. Then another from the frontier worlds. Within minutes, delegates from 12 younger species were standing. High Chancellor Vextar's eyes blazed with anger. "This session is adjourned. All species will return to their assigned roles. Earth has chosen to forfeit the protection of the Council. The consequences will be severe." As Kate walked toward the massive doors, she could hear frantic conversations breaking out behind her. Her secure communicator buzzed with messages from the younger species that had stood. The first message made her smile. "When do we start?" The doors closed behind her with a deep boom that seemed to echo across the galaxy. In her earpiece, President Turner's voice was calm but determined. "Well done, Kate. Come home. We have work to do." As Kate walked toward her ship, she knew that humanity had just changed the course of galactic history. Whether that change would lead to freedom or destruction remained to be seen. But for the first time in centuries, the galaxy's younger species had hope. Captain Dan Murphy watched the star charts on his command screen with growing concern. The dots representing the Council's peacekeeping fleet had been moving steadily toward Earth for 3 days. 200 ships, according to intelligence reports. The largest military force assembled in over a century. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Morrison," his communications officer announced. Dan activated his secure channel. Jake's face appeared on the main screen, looking tired but determined. "Dan, it's time to activate Operation Exodus. Send the signal to all our hidden assets." "Understood, Admiral. What about the refugees?" "Commander Taylor's teams are all ready, moving them to safe locations. We've had ships standing by for weeks." Dan nodded. Over the past month, Earth had quietly evacuated nearly 1 million people from vulnerable colonies to hidden settlements throughout the galaxy. Most were families of military personnel and essential scientists. The operation had been planned for years, just in case diplomacy failed. "The Council fleet will reach Earth in 36 hours, Jake continued. "They expect to find a frightened planet ready to surrender. Instead, they're going to get a surprise." After the transmission ended, Dan turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. Send the activation codes to all units. Operation Exodus is now live." Across the galaxy, hidden communication networks came alive. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed weapon systems. Mining stations activated defensive platforms. Colonies that the Council had never heard of began broadcasting on rebel frequencies. On Kepler 7, Commander Beth Taylor watched as the last refugee transport lifted off from the spaceport. 3,000 civilians from 5 different species had requested asylum on Earth's hidden colonies. All of them had families being held as tribute workers by the Council. "That's the last group from this sector," her lieutenant reported. "Total evacuation count is at 47,000 refugees." Beth nodded. The underground railroad they had built over the past year was working better than hoped. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy's oppressed populations. Earth was offering sanctuary to anyone willing to fight for freedom. Her communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Admiral Tony Clark, head of strategic operations. "Beth, we need you at the rendezvous point. The party is about to start." 24 hours later, the Council's peacekeeping fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Fleet Commander Zarthek of the Altarian Empire expected to see a few dozen human ships preparing to surrender. Instead, his sensors detected over 400 vessels arranged in defensive formations around Earth. "How many ships do the humans have?" he demanded. "Sensors show 437 combat vessels, sir, plus numerous defensive platforms and weapon satellites." Zarthek stared at the tactical display. This was impossible. Earth was supposed to be a weak junior species with limited military capability. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through." Captain Dan Murphy's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Zarthek could see the bridge of a modern warship, not the primitive vessels he had expected. "Commander Zarthek, I am Captain Murphy of the United Earth Defense Force. You are entering sovereign human space with hostile intent. Please state your business. We are here to collect tribute as ordered by the Galactic Council. Surrender. Your forces immediately, and casualties will be minimal. Dan smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. I'm afraid that's not going to happen, Commander. You see, we're not alone in this fight. The tactical display on Zartek's ship suddenly lit up with new contacts. Ships began appearing throughout the solar system as cloaking devices deactivated. The fleet count jumped to over 600 vessels. What you're seeing, Commander, are representatives from 23 species that have decided they're tired of paying tribute to bullies. Zartek's communications officer looked panicked. Sir, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Uprising on 47 worlds. Tribute collection centers under attack. Our garrison fleets are requesting immediate reinforcement. The Council Fleet Commander realized he was not looking at a simple rebellion by one species. This was a coordinated revolt involving half the galaxy's younger civilizations. This is impossible, he said. How did they organize so quickly? Dr. Sam Brooks, sitting in his laboratory deep beneath Earth's surface, smiled as he monitored the quantum communication network he had spent 5 years developing. Instant communication across galactic distances had allowed the rebellion to coordinate in ways the Council never imagined possible. Admiral Morrison, all rebel fleets report ready, he announced over the command channel. Jake stood in Earth's primary defense center, watching displays that showed the situation across the galaxy. Thank you, Sam. Captain Murphy, you may begin. In space around Earth, Dan Murphy gave the signal his crews had been waiting for. The combined rebel fleet split into dozens of smaller groups and began hit-and-run attacks on the Council forces. Human ships used their superior speed and coordination to strike quickly, and then disappear before the enemy could respond effectively. The Council ships were powerful, but slow. They had been designed for intimidation, not actual combat. Their weapons were devastating but had trouble hitting the fast-moving rebel vessels. Within 2 hours, the Council had lost 30 ships while the rebels had lost only 8. More importantly, the psychological impact was enormous. For 8 centuries, the Council's military had been seen as invincible. Now, species across the galaxy watched as rebels fought them to a standstill. On Alteria Prime, High Chancellor Vextar received reports that made his blood run cold. The tribute system was collapsing. Without the constant flow of resources and workers from younger species, the elder civilization's economies were beginning to fail. How long can we maintain our fleets without tribute income? He asked his economic advisor. 6 months at current expenditure levels, Chancellor. Less if the fighting continues. Vextar realized that the humans had found the weakness in the Council's power structure. They looked strong because they had been taking wealth from everyone else for centuries. Without that stolen prosperity, they were just 4 aging civilizations, with old ships and outdated technology. Back at Earth, Admiral Morrison received a message that changed everything. 3 colonies from elder species had sent secret communications requesting to join the rebellion. Even some of the oppressor civilizations were tired of the tribute system. Jake, President Turner said over a secure channel, we're receiving surrender requests from Council garrison commanders on 12 worlds. They're asking for terms. Jake looked at the tactical displays around him. The battle was far from over, but something fundamental had shifted. The Council's authority was cracking not because of military defeat, but because their system had been revealed as unsustainable. Tell them we'll accept surrender from any commander who agrees to release tribute workers and return stolen resources to their homeworlds, Jake replied. As reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy, one thing became clear. The rebellion had succeeded not because humans were better fighters, but because they had given hope to civilizations that had forgotten what freedom felt like. The Council's peacekeeping fleet was still dangerous, but it was no longer fighting to maintain order. It was fighting to preserve a dying system that fewer and fewer beings believed in, and that, Jake realized, made all the difference in the galaxy. Admiral Nick Roberts stood on the bridge of the UES Freedom as his fleet approached Centauri Prime. 6 months had passed since the rebellion began, and the galaxy looked very different now. The massive station that housed the Galactic Council's government grew larger on the main screen with each passing minute. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the station, his communications officer reported. Put it through. High Chancellor Vextar appeared on the screen. The once proud leader of the Altarian Empire looked tired and defeated. His ritual scars seemed deeper, and his gray skin had taken on a pale tone that suggested poor health. Admiral Roberts, the Council requests a formal meeting to discuss terms. Nick nodded respectfully. Despite everything that had happened, he felt no joy in seeing a once great leader brought so low. We'll be happy to meet, Chancellor. Ambassador Phillips and Dr. Foster are with our fleet. They have full authority to negotiate. Very well. Docking Bay 7 will be prepared for your shuttle. 2 hours later, Nick walked through the same corridors where Kate Phillips had delivered humanity's defiant message 6 months earlier. But now he was not alone. Representatives from 47 species walked with him, including 3 from elder civilizations that had joined the rebellion. The council chamber looked different too. Where once 500 seats had been filled with representatives paying tribute to their masters, now only about 200 beings sat in the Great Hall. Many of the elder species colonies had declared independence. Several entire civilizations had simply stopped acknowledging council authority. Dr. Amy Foster carried a datapad containing the proposed constitution for a new galactic government. She had spent 4 months working with representatives from dozens of species to create something that had never existed before, a truly equal partnership between the galaxy's civilizations. The Council recognizes the delegation from the Liberation Alliance, High Chancellor Vextar announced. His voice echoed in the half-empty chamber. Kate Phillips, now serving as the Alliance's chief diplomat, stood at the same speaking platform where she had defied the Council months earlier. Thank you, Chancellor. We come here not as conquerors, but as partners seeking to build a better future for all species. She activated her datapad, and a holographic display appeared above the chamber. The past 6 months have proven that the tribute system was not sustainable. 47 worlds have been liberated from tribute obligations. Economic productivity on those worlds has increased by an average of 30%. Murmurs of approval came from the younger species representatives, while the remaining elder species sat in silent attention. More importantly, Kate continued, we have demonstrated that species can work together as equals. The Liberation Alliance includes civilizations that were enemies for centuries before they discovered their common interest in freedom. She gestured to the diverse group of representatives behind her. Humans and Kepler colonists fought 3 border wars in the past century. The frontier worlds and the inner systems had trade disputes for decades. The Valoni and Kalari barely spoke to each other before the rebellion. Now they stand together as allies. Speaker Mordan of the hegemony leaned forward. What are your terms? Dr. Foster stepped forward. Complete abolition of the tribute system. Reparations for damaged civilizations, to be paid over 50 years by those who benefited from stolen resources, and establishment of a new galactic federation based on voluntary membership and equal representation. And if we refuse? High Chancellor, Vextar asked. Admiral Roberts answered this time. Then the Alliance will continue to exist as a separate entity. We will not attack Council worlds, but we will defend ourselves and offer sanctuary to any civilization that requests it. The truth was that the Council had little choice. Their military had been scattered across the galaxy trying to put down rebellions. Their economy was collapsing without tribute income. Most importantly, they had lost the fear that had kept younger species in line for 8 centuries. The proposed federation would have equal representation for all member species, Vextar asked. Completely equal, Amy confirmed. No elder species, no junior species. Each world gets 1 vote in the Federation Assembly. Decisions are made by majority rule, with protections for minority rights built into the Constitution. An elderly representative from the Altarian colony of New Vega stood up. What about those of us who supported the Alliance from the beginning? Do we get special consideration? Kate smiled. The only special consideration anyone gets is the same opportunity to build a better future. That applies to former Council supporters and former rebels equally. The negotiations continued for 3 days. In the end, the agreement was simpler than anyone had expected. The Galactic Council would dissolve itself. The tribute system would end immediately. Reparations would begin within 1 year. And any species that wished could join the new Galactic Federation as an equal member. High Chancellor Vextar signed the agreement with a steady hand. "I hope your Federation succeeds where our Council failed." Kate looked at him with respect. "Chancellor, the Federation will succeed because it learned from the Council's mistakes. Your civilization built wonders and explored the galaxy when it was young and eager. There's no reason that spirit can't return." 1 year later, President Joe Martinez of the newly formed Federation stood in the assembly hall on New Geneva Station. The station orbited a neutral star system chosen specifically because no single species could claim it as their territory. Before him sat representatives from 89 species. Former tribute worlds now thrived as free societies. Several elder species had joined the Federation and were contributing their knowledge and experience to shared projects. Even some former Council hardliners had come to see the benefits of cooperation over domination. The Federation's first year has exceeded all expectations, Joe announced. Trade between member worlds has increased by 60%. Joint research projects have produced breakthroughs in medical technology, space travel, and energy production. Most importantly, we have had 0 military conflicts between member species. In the audience, Admiral Morrison sat next to Dr. Kane. Both had retired from active service to become teachers at the Federation Academy, where young beings from dozens of species learned together. "Did you ever think it would work this well?" Lisa whispered. Jake smiled. "I hoped it would. Humans have always been good at bringing different groups together. We just needed to show the galaxy that it was possible." On the station's observation deck, children from 20 different species played together while their parents worked on Federation projects. A young human girl named Sally was teaching a group of alien children how to play an Earth game called tag. They ran and laughed together, not caring about the differences that had once divided their peoples. Captain Dan Murphy, now director of Federation Security, watched the children play and remembered the dark days when war seemed inevitable. The galaxy had chosen cooperation over conflict, and the results spoke for themselves. The tribute system was gone. The age of exploitation had ended. In its place, a new era of partnership and mutual respect had begun. And at the center of it, all was a simple human truth, that people could accomplish amazing things when they worked together as equals. The galaxy had finally learned what humanity had always known. Freedom was not something to be granted by the powerful. It was something to be claimed by the brave.